Hey Playmore fans, we're back with week 2 team builder after a very intense week 1. If you haven't seen it, go see it now. You're about to be spoiled, and you guys clutched up for us. So amazing job. Mousehole worked perfectly. I did kind of like rely on my opponent choking just a little bit towards the end, but the matchup was that tough, man. I mean, if I was Terra Ghost Mousehole, it actually would have been tremendously easier because surprisingly he was only body press on Skarmory. But then at the end of the day, I would have had to hit more population bombs because it wouldn't have been Terra normal, but it worked out. So we're here with week 2, and I love this matchup a lot better. We're facing Muffins, the commissioner of this league, so once again, thank you for having us. Everyone has been very welcoming so far, and it's a nice little community that you've grown here, so happy to see that, and I hope to do more watch parties on my own channel, and then breaking down just more of these battles week in and week out if you guys want to look forward to that. So in terms of this matchup, we are facing Chi-Yu, Latios, Fortress, Toxapex, Numel, Meloetta, Mudsdale, Iron Hands, Florges, Talonflame, and Zarude. Now, Chi-Yu, very strong fish, no doubt about that. A little bit stronger than our fish, we'll say. But it's definitely pretty intimidating. I mean, its ability makes it insane. Its base, was it like 135 special or something like that? Makes it just that pairing together is ridiculous. But we can capitalize on it with it only being base 100 speed. We have a lot of Pokemon that outspeed it, and we have good Stealth Rock setters, which if we can force Boots, then it can't outspeed Zamazenta plus Darkrai, which is great. And if it's Choice Scarf, which more than likely it is in this matchup in order to, get necessary kills, always outspeed Zamazenta, stuff like that, then we're getting 25% off on it consistently with Stealth Rocks, which is very important. So Latios, pretty scary Pokemon. In this matchup, I don't know if it's like the biggest worry in my world because Clef is typically a hard wall. You typically nowadays you see a lot more like Calm Mind agilities setups with stored power, which I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that in this game. But I mean, it can also be Choice Scarf in order to cripple Clef and still outspeed and get Aura Sphere damage off on Darkrai or Zama. But Lati isn't strong enough to where that Aura Sphere is going to be necessarily picking up the KOs. It would have to be a very like late game or something like that form of Revenger. So Fortress, good Rapid Spinner for him this game because I don't have a Ghost type unless it's Terra Mousehold. Very defensive, does have Overcoat for Bloom Spore, which is important to know, and can be sturdy just to avoid Okos. More than likely, if we see it, it's just going to be max defense, whether or not it's carrying heavy-duty boots with sturdy, or if it's Overcoat with leftovers. Those are both reasonable options. But without a doubt, it's going to be at least have one form of hazard in Spike or Stealth Rock, at least one. Rapid Spin, and then Body Press plus more than likely Volt Switch. If it's an Iron Defense Body Press set, that wouldn't be too surprising, but anything else, I'd be kind of alarmed of, why you're not bringing more hazards and stuff like that, because, I mean, my team can get overwhelmed. I only have 2 forms of removal, and 1 is Mousehole. So, Toxapex, actually surprised this got picked up. Muffins did make a few transactions, actually, before this week. One of them, I believe, was Toxapex, and the other was Mudsdale. He might have had one and Meloetta, I think. I might be wrong. But either way, because I know he had Manaphy before, so. But Toxapex, pretty annoying into our team. In fact, really good into Zamazenta, which I don't like to say. And it's more than likely going to be defensive Rocky Helmet for Zamazenta plus Mousehold. There's just no reason for it not to be. It should always be that set against us. Rocky Helmet, Haze Recover. Beats Zamazenta always, and should be able to deal with Mousehold. We can only do switcheroo so many times, folks. Numel, that is in the right order. That is a round 5 Numel. It does get the ability simple, and it can be shenanigans. Muffins likes to have fun, so I fully respect the round 5 Numel there. Their first Terra Captain. We actually have all 3 Terra Captains in a row. It can be ground, I think, for the first one, and then fairy and water for the others, I'm pretty sure. But in terms of simple, it just runs stockpile and growth in order to get those boosts. Unfortunately for Numel, it just can never break through Unaware Clefable. That goes a lot for a lot of his team. Unfortunately for him. Meloetta, very strong Terra Captain in normal, ghost, or fairy. Very intimidating, does obviously have Relic Song in order to switch into that Pirouette form that does speed tie with Zamazenta and give it that fighting coverage in order to hit Darkrai, and change to a fighting type in order to resist the dark type moves, which is important. Additionally, Relic Song does have that 20% chance to put us to sleep, which would be funny against the Darkrai plus Breloom. You just say no no reverse card there. But I have faced a few like Calm Mind skill swap sets, which could be really annoying. into my Clefable, taking my Unaware, and then thus beating me 1v1, and thus making it harder for the rest of my team to deal with it. So we have to be wary of that. Mudsdale, very generic with stamina, can be very annoying for the likes of Breloom Bullet Seed, plus Mousehold Pop Bomb, of course, with those multi-hit moves, as we're boosting their defense every single time, and that goes with any hit, including special hits, making it actually a decent Darkrai switch in, because Mudsdale does have decent special defensive bulk. It could be Assault Vest in this game if it really wants to, but more than likely, I think like Stealth Rocks with Leftovers being fairly defensively bulky, Body Press, of course, Rock type move, and then probably Roar. I have seen a few counter sets as well, so it has a few options there. And in terms of Terra, it can be ground, fighting, or water for its Terra. I think fighting is best in this matchup, but it did face a few waters, so just keep that in mind. Iron Hands, I really want to use Iron Hands so badly. This thing is a goated Draft League Pokemon. It can live literally almost any hit in the world. Like, you have to be insanely boosted in order to get the OHKO, because this thing is very fat, and it runs typically Assault Vests in order to make up for its lackluster special defense. And it has amazing coverage and offensive stats in order to pair with that Assault Vest combo. So typically you can see Thunder Punch plus Ice Punch for Bolt Beam combo, Drain Punch for recovery and stab, Close Combat for a nuke, Fake Out for priority chip if you really wanted to, just get Full Switch for momentum, etc, etc. Iron Hands is a great Pokemon. Swords Dance bulky sets with Drain Punch are also very difficult. More than likely we're seeing AV against me, just for Darkrai as a whole. Also helps for Moltres, can eat a hit against Sandy Shocks and thus Drain Punch back, potentially kill with Ice Punch or something of the sort, so it can definitely be an issue. Florges, something you would typically probably expect for Darkrai. It does have potential to come against me. A lot of my mocks people struggle to put it on their mock build overall, or is a little lackluster. A few things I need to be aware of. It does get Psychic Noise in this generation, and that actually is pretty annoying for Clefable, which ideally is my switch into Florges, because then I'm not able to heal up. So it is able to keep Clefable low, and potentially Lottie beats it then afterwards. So I have to be very cautious of that as a potential move for it. Otherwise, also Psychic Noise can even be used on Moltres in order to limit Roost there, so we have to keep an eye out for that. But typically, Wish Passer, very strong, special defensively bulky. Occasionally you see an offensive set. I don't think that's going to be the case this time around. If you bring it, it has to be bulky in order to deal with Darkrai. So Talonflame, I really don't like it this matchup for him, but it has potential. Just because of Flame Body and its good speed stat, it can outspeed Darkrai naturally. Additionally, if you don't want to run Flame Body for Zamazenta or Mousehold or anything like that, Breloom and Gyarados included, you can opt to run Gale Wings in order to get priority speed for some of my Pokemon that might want to boost their speed, such as Shell Smash Blastoise, Dragon Dance Gyarados, Choice Scarf Darkrai, like anything like that. Those are all very reasonable for if they really want to opt for Gale Wings for that reason. So, and lastly, Zarude. I really don't like Zarude in this matchup. I mean, it can knock off, move around. It does actually get access to Encore, which could be annoying for some of my setup mons. But knockoff is really good for removing items overall, and Power Whip is pretty decent if you land. So, and it does get fighting coverage for Zamazenta. Although with our defense boost, we do kind of naturally just still sit in front of it. Even though Zarude's got respectable physical offense and bulk, it's just that Dark plus Grass is not a good typing. So that being said, we're gonna go into our team. I really, really like this matchup as I continue once again. I have not lost a single mock going into this battle. So I am very confident in the results that are going to come out for this. I'm very excited to show off this team in general. So first, we are bringing Zamazenta for week 2, finally making its debut. It was a shame not being able to use your #1 draft pick for the first week, but it happens. And this still isn't, unfortunately, a great matchup for it, just because of Toxapex. Outside of Toxapex, it was doable. But Toxapex does make it difficult. So just in case they're not the correct Toxapex set, meaning Rocky Helmet, physical defensive with Haze, this set could potentially still win. Or if we're able to cheese the Toxapex with something else early on, this can, once again, potentially still win. So we have Substitute, Iron Defense, Body Press, and Heavy Slam. I'm not worried about the Talonflame once again. I debated Stone Edge because it does get access to that. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. And also because I'm not worried about Talonflame, I'm not outspeeding it. I'm only having enough speed for the Latios if it's max speed. Zamazenta looks really good other than that. I have a lot of heavy special defense, so a defensively bulky Florges, or obviously just any type of Toxapex period because it's so weak, or even like a bulky Latios with just Psychic, they aren't breaking my substitute, which is big. I can do a lot more damage that way against them. Additionally, versus their physical attackers in Iron Hand, Mudsteel, Fortress, once I have some iron defenses up, if I still have plenty of health, I can get up a substitute and they might not be able to break it just because of all my physical defensive boost. So, thus boosting our body press, which is very good into their team. Obviously, they do have some ways of like resisting it or not really worrying about it. Once again, being that Toxapex, which clearly is an issue. Florges might resist, but we do have Heavy Slam. And at the end of the day, you're like, Florges still takes a lot, but Meloetta can tear it into Ghost. Therefore, I definitely need a Steel type move. And Heavy Slam can 2-hit KO Meloetta, pick up the Oko on Florges if it's offensive. I can't also 2-hit KO a max HP Latios in case it is a setup variant. That way I don't have to rely on Iron Defensing in front of it as it's boosting in front of me. I can just go ahead and hit it twice with Heavy Slam and not even worry. So big thing for that 96 investment into its attack for that reason. So Zamazenta has potential. More than likely, I'm just going to be using it to scout against the Toxapex and then potentially revenge kill 1 or 2 Pokemon. As much as I want it to sweep, as it did in a few mocks, if they bring the correct Toxapex, then it's not going to be able to do it, unfortunately. But keep our fingers crossed. Next, we have our other legendary / mythical in Darkrai. We have another substitute set, this time with lefties, because we can run an item on it compared to Zama. Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, plus a Will-O-Wisp. This has plenty of speed in order to deal with the Latios if it is max. But then we have plenty of HP as well. Now that HP investment is so Toxapex Surf never breaks sub. And that's just the main thing there. Because Surf does have potential. It might be physical, but if it's physical, once again, I'm Will-O-Wisp. So I really don't care about that too much. And its physical moves might do a little bit more. But once I burn it, it doesn't matter. And additionally, Burn is really good on Iron Hands plus Mudsteel. I can do it on a few other things, but it's just more consistent for those Pokemon. Originally, I was actually Hypnosis because it does get more in the long run against Florges for my team. Or at least in the 1v1. However, Hypnosis is 60% accurate. So even though I hit them all on day 1 of mocks, day 2, I basically missed almost all of them. So that was the change to Will-O-Wisp. Shout out to Grom for giving me that idea, because Will-O-Wisp also really helps our next Pokemon, which I'll get to shortly. But Dark Pulse, obviously Stab, very spammable into their team, but then Sludge Bomb at least provides neutral coverage or super effective coverage against everything that resisted. So Iron Hands, we're hitting for neutral or burning it, which is important as it's more than likely going to be a Soul Vest to help out against Darkrai. And then Florges, we do have Sludge Bomb to really wear it down, which is big there. Only neutral in the Chi-Yu, unfortunately can't burn Chi-Yu, so that is definitely a big thing there. But my 2 next Pokemon really capitalize if Chi-Yu gets locked into one of its 2 stabs. So first we have Clefable. This is what I think is going to beat him. I will not be surprised if this wins kind of fairly early on once I gather enough information. Or Gyarados, which is the next Pokemon. But first we're going to talk about Clefable. We're like max defensive Calm Mind, Moonblast, Thunderbolt, and Moonlight. Originally I was thinking Stored Power when looking at their team. But the fact is, after 1 Calm Mind, Thunderbolt is just more ideal against Toxapex. So I can do more damage while Stored Power relies on more boost to do that damage. But if it's Haze, obviously it can be a Stored Power set, especially if it's Gunk Shot. So Thunderbolt made more reason there. Additionally, I get a neutral hit on Fortress compared to double resist. And then I also be able to hit Talonflame for super effective damage. So that's the reason behind there. And max defense really just to help out against the Iron Hands and Mudsdale and Fortress. As I'm boosting my special defense, I don't care. I can beat those other Pokemon fairly easily. So originally I was Keyberry to get that defense boost, but I didn't really feel like it was necessary once I had Will-O-Wisp on Darkrai. That proved to be pretty helpful in mocks afterwards with that change. And Ability Shield. For those who do not know, Ability Shield makes it to where your ability can never be changed. Whether that's the like of an ability like Neutralizing Gas from Weezing or Mold Breaker from Haxorus, making it null. Or if they go for Skill Swap, for example, which was the issue I had in these mocks. As I mentioned before, I faced some Skill Swap Calm Mind Meloettas, also Skill Swap on Florges with Calm Mind. Those ended up being quite the issue after they took Unaware. Because even if I switched out with Clef and came back in, I have Unaware back, but so do they, so they're still beating me 1v1, because Clef has a lower natural special attack stat, and like my special defense just isn't as It's good with my HP and like 90 special defense or whatever. It's just not as good as Meloetta's, what was it, like 110, 120, and Florges, which is higher than that too. So I just wasn't beating them 1v1 with it. So this ability shield I just felt like was almost a guarantee towards my win. There were still a few things I had to check in order to really pick up the dub, in order of, you know, making sure it's a physically defensive Toxapex, scouting for Gunk Shot, ideally getting chip on it beforehand, so when it comes back in, it's in range of +1 Thunderbolt, which if it's physically defensive, it just needs to be around half. And in certain situations, I may be able to get 2 Calm Minds back to back just because they're kind of sleeping on what Clef might be able to do, or they're scouting unaware because they're not sure yet. Plenty of times I've been able to get like 2 Calm Minds immediately. So things we have to be careful for outside of Toxapex are Heavy Slam on Iron Hands and Mudsdale, once again, which is why we're trying to get the Will-Wisp on those Pokemon. But I'm not really expecting like Choice Band sets necessarily from them. I think bulkier variants make more sense. Iron Hands still gets to be attack invested due to the Assault Vest. However, Mudsdale I think is best in order to be defensive, maybe special defensive in this game. But I have faced a few offensive variants, so we'll see. And then next we have Gyarados, our other potential win con, with Terra Flying, Dragon Dance, Waterfall, Terra Blast, and Taunt with the Moxie ability. This thing is a menace. This makes me very happy to use Terra Gyarados, not gonna lie. I have the heavy duty boots as they have very good Stealth Rock potential, and I just really don't want to worry about the chip because every bit of HP matters for Gyarados going into this because of the potential Scarfers they might have in Chi-Yu and Latios and whatnot. Taunt obviously lets us just completely wall Haze, Toxapex, Recover, and all those shenanigans. Additionally, I can just taunt and prevent any setup from his other Pokemon. I can also avoid Thunder Wave from Fortress and the Iron Defense potentially on Fortress. Prevent Lottie from setting up if I'm not going to be able to KO it immediately or something of the sort. So taunt is always very effective on Gyarados, especially these type of sets versus Pokemon like Toxapex that are very passive and relies on Haze. So with Terra Flying, we destroy their team. So when you finally give Gyarados a flying type move, that's also now 2 times instead of 1.5s for stab because of Terra Flying stacking, it makes it an absolute menace. I got a lot of Moxie sweeps with Gyarados. I think I got more wins with Gyarados than I did Clef, but I think Clef is still more likely to win. We do need to get a lot of chip on Iron Hands first, or get up plenty of spikes with Sandy Shocks, which I'll be talking about next. But then I also have to be cautious of, like, you know, Flame Body from Talonflame, Trick, Choice Scarf on the Latios and things of that sort. But with the Moxie boost over time, it's very easy for Gyarados to win. So one great pairing with Clefable and Gyarados as 2 potential win cons here is, once again, Chi-Yu with locking into either of its stabs. If it locks into Flamethrower, I'm able to go into Gyarados and set up that way. They have to switch in. If they see the DD already at that point, if I DD again, there's nothing they can do. I'm not dying to 2 Flamethrowers anyways, because I'm not tearing until I am ready to click Terra Blast. Or if I have to do it in front of Iron Hands or something that might hit me with an electric move. That's very situational though. And then if they lock into a Dark type move, I go into Clef. And after 1 Calm Mind, if their Choice Scarf Chi-Yu, Flamethrower's not even doing 50% to me. So I'm able to Calm Mind again. The one thing I do have to be cautious about is Overheat, because for those that are not aware with Unaware, I also ignore the drops on the opposing Pokemon. So Chi-Yu that can spam Overheat into Unaware Clefable, which is a little terrifying. So I have to be a little cautious about that. If anything, that might be one of the only general counters to Clefable for this specific set. So once again, those 2 pairing very nicely in which one can get off the win and or just help set it up for the other one and really cripple the rest of the team. So next we have our Ideal Lead in Sandy Shocks. This thing has been amazing in Mox. Once I realized that Talonflame really just isn't a great ring, and even though I think Muffins likes Fortress, drafted it round 3, which I think is way too early for Fortress, and then it has potential, decent Rapid Spin and everything, Hazard stacking into their team was just so good. Even though Stealth Rocks would be ideal for the Chi-Yu that's potentially Choice Scarf, I felt like Spikes were better purely because I want to get more chip on that Iron Hands. That's more important for me than chip on Chi-Yu. So stacking Spikes just seem more important, and I have the Focus Sash purely for leads such as Zarude, Choice Specs Lottie, Choice Scarf Overheat Chi-Yu, because if they don't see on booster energy and they lead Choice Scarf Chi-Yu, they might think, ha, I got a kill, stupid head. But then I can just potentially get a good roll in my favor to kill them with Earth Power turn 1, depending on how much HP they have, but more than likely I'll be able to get that roll in my favor. Outside of that, we're probably just clicking Spike, honestly, because I would really like it up, once again, just to get that general chip against Iron Hands, Mudsdale, some of the other Pokemon, but also potentially breaking Sturdy on the Fortress would be pretty big if they're not heavy-duty boots. So, Thunderbolt plus Earth Power is just good overall, except for Lottie and Zarude. But even then, I just Volt Switch out, and I have 2 perfectly great switch-ins, Clefable for Latios, or even Zamazenta, if I want to scout it first and use Zamazenta purely for scouting, as Clef is a win con. Or Zamazenta, once again, for Zarude. So, really not worried about those 2 checks coming in on Sandy Shocks. If anything, it's going to be more annoying if it's Mudsdale. So, but if it's Mudsdale, I probably just spam hazards at that point. So, and then lastly, we have Breloom. This is the just oh snap button. I don't want to lose to Choice Scarf or Flame Charge Chi-Yu. I want Banded Mach Punch and to feel safe and sleep well at night. Additionally, Bullet Seed is still really good into his team outside of the Stamina Mudsdale and the Fortress. Once again, don't really care about Talonflame. But we do also have Rock Tomb in case I want to make that hard read on Talonflame. Also, Choice Band Close Combat does 2-hit KO a max defensive Fortress. So if they feel like that is their check because they didn't bring Talonflame, then they get 2-hit KO'd. And then I don't have to worry about that shenanigans for Clefable. I don't have to worry about a Rapid Spin or anything like that. Because, I mean, unless they do have, like, another Pokemon to really bring them in that close combat afterwards, which realistically would be Pex, I guess. I mean, he's just taking a whole bunch of damage, because if that's not physically defensive Fortress, that's getting 2-hit KO by Banded Close Combat as well. So, I love Breloom with Choice Band. It's very strong. If anything, I just kind of dislike I have to lock myself into potential Mach Punch or nothing else. I would like it to where I could change my move no matter what against Chi-Yu. But unfortunately, I just don't have that available to me. And once again, if Chi-Yu locks itself into a move, I get my win cons ready. So it is what it is. I'm really excited with this team. I have high hopes for a high differential win. So we'll see how it goes. Not trying to disrespect my opponent. My mocks have just been very well. And I think I have a good matchup as well. So look forward to the battle tomorrow. And let's see if we can get this win streak going.